Good evening, everyone. How's it going? It's Sunday night. Got another awesome show for you guys tonight. We are going to be talking about Dracula and this awesome Kickstarter that Joseph has going on. So, without further ado, I shall bring out Joseph, and hopefully, my computer doesn't crap out on me again today. If not, we'll go onto the phone like we did last Tuesday and Sunday. So, it is what it is.
Hey, how's it going, Russell?
Good. How are you doing, Joseph? Technology at its finest, and you never know what it's going to do.
Yeah.
So we got the Crusade of Dracula.
Yep.
On Kickstarter live right now. And it's, I have to say it's pretty interesting. I've been reading through it. I was looking over it again. I appreciate you sending me the advanced copy to take a look at it. And, it's a pretty big book.
Yeah, it's 43 pages of story. The whole story is actually 108 pages. We decided to cut it into 3 pieces, just mostly for financing reasons, but also because I wanted it to kind of be a meta commentary on storytelling. So we split it into beginning, middle, and end, kind of a 3-act structure. Having said that, the first book is actually the biggest. The second book is 36 pages. The third book is 29 pages. There's a lot of setup we have to do in the first half of book 1, so it's a little longer.
Awesome. And it's the first book spans quite a few years too, as well. It kind of starts out in I'm trying to remember what year it starts out on. Sorry, I seem a little preoccupied. My computer's going.
Right. Yeah, it jumps back and forth in time a lot. It starts in October 1918, and we see Dracula asking Scheherazade, the storyteller from the 1001 Arabian Nights, who's now an undead being, for help. He's looking for information about an enemy of his that has prevented him from assassinating the Ottoman Sultan.
Awesome. Give me just a second. I'm going to hop on my phone. So,
okay.
I apologize. I'm really sorry.
That's okay.
Technology's been kicking my butt lately.
Then we see a little flashback to 1914 that shows him trying to assassinate the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed V, and he's thwarted by these new type of undead creatures he doesn't recognize. So she offers to give him information in exchange for him telling him his true story of his life before he died. His story about how he interacted with the Ottoman Empire in life. She wanted to know what his story was. Meanwhile, we have another narrator, James Fitzharris, who is an Irish separatist, and we see him in December 1918 after the war, and he's narrating his perspective on what happened and how he tried to fulfill his obligation to Dracula by going to Arabia and looking for weaknesses of this enemy.
Yeah, and I thought that was an awesome concept. That was one of the things that when I was reading the synopsis on the Kickstarter about how, what if Lawrence of Arabia was actually a plot to throw off, the whole supernatural war. And I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, we really used Lawrence's own book as kind of a framework for the 20th century scenes, especially in book 2. You see a lot of that. His book is called 7 Pillars of Wisdom, and he wrote it as sort of his autobiographical account of the Arab Revolt. Of course, it's really considered to be not 100% true. Lawrence was pretty dramatic, and he kind of exaggerated a lot of things. The way I kind of deal with that is we have a narrator telling us the story, and we take everything that was exaggerated and just exaggerate it even more and make it supernatural.
Hey guys, I apologize about that. That was a horrible start off to the show. I appreciate you rolling along, Joseph. I apologize for the technical difficulties. I'm going to take a quick second to say hello to everybody. Hey Mike, hey Trish, hey
guys.
Jack. Chuck, what's going on, my man? And Chuck asked, how far beyond Crusade have you planned in your head?
So we're going to have a third part of this Dracula series. Crusade is actually the second part. The third part, I think, will be called Legacy of Dracula, and that will deal with the War of Irish Independence. So we'll bring all the characters back for that, probably around 1922. I also have a couple of ideas for prequels or interquels. One is takes place at the end of the Mexican War for Independence in the 19th century, around 1818. And another one talks about Dracula's life, and it's about how he dealt with a particular supernatural threat from during the war with the Ottomans. And so those are kind of the main things that I have planned out, not entirely planned out, but certainly, I want to do a couple more stories.
Cool. And I seen also too that you guys weren't that far away on the Kickstarter with unlocking the other books. You got Katrina and Wordsmith.
Yeah, we've already unlocked 6 free indie comic PDFs. Early backers got 5 more. So everybody right now is getting the 6. The early backers are getting 11. If we add these 2 more at 111 backers, then adds 2 more, and we'll continue to set milestones. I decided just to do backer-based milestones that are not really stretch goals, so that I wouldn't have to have a milestone and then switch to stretch goals, and it would just be really complex. So everything's just backer-based, and hopefully we'll get up to 111. We had 110 for Order of Dracula Remastered, so that's why I set this at 111. Hopefully we will get to that before the end of the campaign.
Now, are these? I didn't get a chance to look into that. Are these books also books from you, or are these books from other indie creators?
No, they're from other creators.
Okay. Yeah, because I've seen Katrina Hates Dead Shit and Wordsmith.
Yeah.
I was cracking up. Katrina Hates Dead Shit.
Yeah, that's Russell Nolte's book about fighting Lucifer during the apocalypse.
Oh man, that sounds crazy. That's even funnier coming from Russell Nolte because Katrina is his.
Yeah. And then the other one is Wordsmith Volume 1, which is Stephen Cock wrote that. It's a really great steampunk story about how there are these people that can create reactions in others by literally inscribing words in the air. And it's just a really cool concept.
So you do the writing and the lettering for these comics, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I do some of the technical stuff too, like layouts and file conversions and stuff like that.
Oh, that's always fun.
Yeah, it's not the funnest stuff in the world, but somebody's got to do it. So
yeah, somebody's got to do it, and that's always the expensive stuff that you have to pay for too. And so it's like if you can do it yourself,
yeah,
that's the best one because it's the most boring thing to do. But hey, you know what?
I mean, I was like kind of, like I'm Gen X technically, although I'm at the end. So I'm like I'm able to learn new technology, but it isn't necessarily easy for me. But yeah, I've had to learn all this stuff just to do comics,
And I see that Chuck Pinow is also the editor of this book as well, right?
Yeah, Chuck is the editor of this book. He's one of the few who's read it all the way through. You have now too. But yeah, he's. Hey, how do you know I don't already have my pants off?
So we had Chuck Pinow on here with Sean Barber.
Yeah.
And it got out of hand. I mean, it got out of control. We had like 20 people in here. And all of a sudden, the ladies were like, hey, I'm not backing this unless we see some skin. And so Chuck's like, I'm good with that. And he just whips his shirt out and his big old man titties come out. And then you got Sean whips his shirt off. So then, I got peer pressured. The audience is like, well, that's not fair. Russell's sitting there with his shirt on. So now, Jack's trying to up the bar with telling us to take our pants off. But in case Jack didn't see, there is a $500 fine for wearing pants. So obviously we're already not wearing pants. So you just, we're going to have to get over it.
Yeah. You don't want to wear pants, especially when you're at home. It's too much trouble,
And that's the best part about, Pantsless Con 2020. We're all stuck at home. We're all stuck at home either creating or looking to purchase stuff from creators to keep us busy. And only if I ask those shirts come off. That's been the only good thing that came out of COVID, and that's what a lot of, I do with these shows about, I bring you on and talk about the books, and it's not really so much to talk about the Kickstarter, but talk about, who Joseph is, give you a chance for people to meet you, because we don't have cons right now. Everybody's stuck at home.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh man, I want to go to, Baltimore Con. Oh, it's canceled. I want to go to Emerald City Con. Oh, it's canceled.
Yeah.
Everything's getting canceled around us. So, as creators, we're sitting at home and we've got this project that we want to put out there. We throw it on Kickstarter, and if nobody knows who, you are or who I am, they're going to look at the project and you're like, that's cool, and move on. So, it's really opened up a lot of what I wanted to do for the last 2 years was get online, do interviews, say, hey, Joseph, you want to get on and talk about your Kickstarter? You came to me, which is awesome. And
Yeah.
I'm always happy to help anybody if anybody else is out there. But, it's really given us a chance to get out there and not only tell people who we are, but give them a chance to, feed into the industry and see a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that's not Marvel and DC. So
Yeah. And it's great to have sort of a long form conversation like this. I feel like this book is kind of complicated, so I'm not sure that I get a great job of explaining it like just on the page.
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to make it through all of it. Things have been crazy. Everybody knows I had neck injections this week and stuff, and I've been working crazy hours at work, and then trying to get my stuff together. But from what I've seen so far, it's really good. But that's why I haven't made it through, because it jumps timelines, and it's kind of a cool concept how it jumps timelines, and the whole thing where he transforms into a cat.
Yeah. So the whole idea behind Dracula in our comics is that he doesn't want anybody to know what his real capabilities are. So he's waged this entire disinformation campaign about what his powers are, including, which you mentioned in Order of Dracula, hiring Bram Stoker to write a book about him that's completely fictional. So we see him do stuff like he turned into a cat, or he goes out during the daylight, but we never see him turn into a bat. We never see him in Crusade of Dracula. He never actually sucks anybody's blood either. So it's kind of it's kind of an indication that he's sort of like, yeah, he probably needs blood, but like, not that much. He's kind of over that at this point. He's just too powerful to really be kind of stuck with those animal instincts,
And that's what was really funny for me, because it's always in every movie, every rendition of Dracula or vampires always transform into bats. So here I am, I'm reading along, and I had to go scroll back. I'm like, did I miss something here? Like, this dude just changed into a cat and was jumping a wall. And I'm like, no, I am reading the right thing. So that was definitely one of the things that I wanted to ask you. And that's really cool.
Yeah, I really like the idea of him turning into a cat, because he's so big in the story. He's so big into being like this champion of Christianity. It's kind of ironic that he turned into a black cat, because, during the Middle Ages, black cats were considered by the church to be like, demonic or bad luck. So, so that's why I had him turn into a cat. And I thought it was kind of funny that there's, and Greg drew all those alley cats and stuff in there. And I thought it was kind of funny. He's kind of like mingling among the cats to kind of disguise his escape. Yeah.
That's great. So you what gave you the notion? So I want to kind of talk about, we talked about the book for a little bit, and I threw the Kickstarter link up there, and I'll bring up the Kickstarter here in a little bit, and kind of roll through it and let everybody get a chance to see what it looks like without jumping out of the video. But so you created Heresy Studios. What inspired you to create books? What inspired you to start your own studio and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do with my life?
Well, I'd always kind of wanted to write comics, and I was really big into comics when I was younger, and I was like, let's do it. Let's do it. And so I kind of put it off for a while, and then I was like, let's try short stories, and then that didn't really go anywhere. And then I was thinking, like, my wife was pregnant for the first time, and I was like, what, I better probably do this when I still have the chance to. So and I decided I'm just going to do comics. I'm going to stop trying to do short stories, because I really wanted to do comics anyway. if I'm gonna fail at something, like at least it's something that I want to do, So it took a long time. First, I tried to submit to publishers, and then that didn't work out. So I was like, let's just publish it myself,
And so then you just jumped out there and created a studio and just launched your
my
books
wife,
in the world.
my wife actually created the business for me for my birthday. I was already kind of writing scripts and trying to figure out what to do with them, and she organized the company for me for my birthday in 2016. And then I was like, well, now I have like a framework, and I can just, like a legal framework, and I can just publish stuff myself. And the first book we did was Order of Dracula, and that came out in 2017.
Cool. And I like to hear that, So what were your favorite comic books growing up? Like what inspired you to get into comic books?
So I read a couple of comics when I was little. My first couple of comics were World's Finest comics, Superman and Batman. The first comic I ever read was number 299, where Batman has an executioner's hood and he's about to chop off Superman's head, and Batman is shirtless for some reason, even though he still has the mask on and the cape, And my dad bought this from a convenience store when I was 6, and I was like, I gotta see what this is about. Because at the time it's like, you knew Batman and Superman from the Super Friends TV show, from the Superpowers action figures. You hadn't read the comics, and so I read that. Thought that was kind of cool. The next comic I got was an Action Comics a couple years later. Then I kind of forgot about it for a while. Then I actually was hospitalized when I was 11 for asthma, and while I was in the hospital, my parents started bringing me some detective comics, and it was right after the Batman movie, so they were like, it was 1989. They were like, let's just get some Batman comics. So I got them. I kind of got into Batman, and then I kind of got out of it. But I started getting into all kinds of comics then. So it was kind of interesting. It was one of the only things when I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. It was one of the only things that kind of cheered me up. My parents would show up with some more comics, or detective comics, or Batman, or whatever.
Yeah, and that's awesome because, that's something that, speaks volumes to what, I've been preaching for, the last 7 months now, I guess, that I've been on the air is cb4k.org. So taking a little tangent here to talk about that. This guy right here just had an awesome story to talk about how he was in the hospital, and that the only thing that brought him out was reading comic books. Yeah. And that's why for my Kickstarter and for my show, I like to promote cb4k.org. Comic books for kids. Mark's a great dude, sends comic books to hospitals. Anybody that's watching this back, that's C as in cat, B as in boy, the number 4, and then K as in kids.org. Check it out. Go check them out. All the money that he takes, 100% of it goes towards kids. And for people just like what Joseph was just talking about, hospitalized for 2 weeks, the only thing that brought him out of it was reading comic books. And that's what this organization does. Sends them to comic books, cancer centers, places where kids may not ever get to go home. And these comic books make them happy. So sorry about that.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I actually was hospitalized the second time for asthma. And then I actually read a comic that they had in the hospital just for people with asthma. And it was called Captain America versus the Asthma Monster.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you remember that one. But yeah, that was fun. Where Captain America tells you can live a normal life even though you have asthma.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a great cause.
Oh, it is a great cause. He's a great guy. I met him at C2E2. So, I can't do anything but speak volumes about the work that he does, So you had asthma, you got into comic books, and then you fell out of them, but then you went to the hospital and your parents, started bringing comic books again, and it really got you down into it. You're like, hey, I connect with this. Yeah. So that's what's really got you in the comic business. And then your wife, of course, has this awesome gumption, and she's like, "Hey, happy birthday! You have a company now."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
did you already have your books planned out what you wanted to write up and
No,
before
not
that
at
point,
all.
or was it just kind of like, "Okay, I have a business in my lap now. What do I do?"
So, well, I had one comic. I had Order of Dracula scripted, and I had
So it was already
revised it.
scripted.
Yeah, it was already scripted. I had revised it a million times. Um, I actually went to. I think this might have encouraged my wife to do that, but I went and saw Tom King at Baltimore Comic Con 2015, and he has the same background that I do. Only difference is he quit his job and went full time, and I didn't. But I asked him, I said, "How'd you do this when you were working for CIA?" And he was like, "I just took a year of leave and I just started writing." And I was like, "Well, I have a script and I don't know what to do with it." And he's like, "You have a script already?" I was like, "Yeah, you know." And he was like, "You have a script already? Just publish it, you know." So that's when I first started kind of thinking about in September 2015. Started thinking about publishing myself. So I revised it, a million times. And then after my wife started the business for me, I was like, all right, I'll just do this comic. I don't have any plans for any more comics, but I'll just do this one and see what happens. And so that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah, and for everyone that seen me laugh when he said he revised it a million times, I'm not laughing at Joseph. I'm laughing with him because over the last 10 years, I think Xeno Nanite Titan has been revised probably a million times because it happens. You've got that first story, and you have it, and you're like, "This is freaking awesome! I love everything about it." And then, over the years, you read, or months even, you read over it, and you're like, "I really don't like this. I'm gonna fix it." And so you fix it and you change it and you're like, now it's really awesome. And then you go back a month later, you read it and you're like, no, I like it the way it originally was. And then you go back and change it again. And it's a never ending battle. And that's the biggest fight for us as creators, is taking our baby that we love so much and just being like, you know what, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to put it out there the way that it is. And some people are going to like it and some people are going to hate it. But I can't just keep sitting here and nitpicking this thing to death. And so, no, I totally get it. So that's why I laughed whenever you said you revised it.
Yeah, it took me 3 years for that one. And then I was like, let's take some stuff that I had some other ideas for and do that. And so I kind of went on with that. I took some of the Dr. Orange, which is another one of the comics. I took an old short story that I had written, even though I lost it. I just completely rewrote it as a comic. So I kind of recycled some stuff that way. But yeah, this Crusade of Dracula comic is going to take me even longer than Order of Dracula. It's taken me 3 years so far. I first started it in 2017, just doing the research for it, and that was about 2 years. and then trying to get the script together, getting the script edited, then deciding where I wanted to cut it up, and then looking back at it and then revising it, and the whole thing. But it definitely never ends though. It's like after it's released, and then you're still looking at it like I want to change this, but it's kind of late at that point.
Yeah, and you hear a lot of creators say that. They'll bring out their first work and they're really happy with it, and then down the line they're working on number 10 or number 11. They're like, I really want to go back and just like redo book 1 and improve it.
Yeah.
And it's like, do I leave it alone or do I go back and mess with it? And it's like, there's nothing wrong with doing a director's cut and be like, this is the way I really wanted it to be. And sometimes you have to do that, because sometimes, maybe it's something budget wise you can't really do as much as you want to do for the first book. It was just getting the concept out there. But I definitely like to hear that, you took the time. I mean, you took 2 years to do research on all this lore and all the stuff that happened in these time periods to actually put it into the book and make it, true to time. And you have to respect that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple history degrees, so that's like kind of where I come from. Everything, like, everything we do is pretty much everything is historical. So I try to figure out like, what it is I want to use from the real history. And what I did with this story was I actually was more complex than usual because I had to use World War I, and I also had to use the 15th century, the real life of Dracula. So I ended up doing like a ton of research on it. I even found a book of Irish slang, and I was like, for these characters that are Irish, like I'm going to use all this Irish slang. I tried putting in the script on it. I had no idea what it meant. Like, I was like, if I don't understand this, like the readers aren't going to understand this, you know? So, you know, it's, he said 2 years to do research on vampires. I didn't spend 2 years of research on vampires. I spent 2 years of research on the historical eras. But I guess you'd say my favorite vampire movie. I guess maybe Let Me In. I read the book of that, which was better. But the movie was pretty interesting too, I think. I like movies like that where things are a little bit different. But I feel like cinematic vampires generally are way too similar to each other. You know, we have this sort of idea of what vampires are. It's based on the original Dracula movie, and it really hasn't changed. Not in movies, but I really like just kind of taking those assumptions about vampires and then changing them. In fact, I do that with a lot of horror stuff, where you think you know what the rules are and then break them.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite vampire movies, just since we're talking about favorite vampire movies, I really liked 30 Days a Night. I thought that was a pretty cool. That was one of my favorite.
They set that in Alaska during the winter. That was a cool concept. Yeah.
Yep. Don't go down that road. Yeah. So is that? I guess that's your main forte. Like you're gonna stick to doing a horror kind of genre of books for down the road, or do you have any other genres that you want to kind of kick the sand in?
Well, so we did mostly horror stuff. I did do one superhero comic. It was a Golden Age superhero comic, and it takes public domain characters and sort of uses them at the beginning of the Cold War. And so we did kind of a short story collection of those, and they were all sort of linked in stories that were existential in some way. I sort of took what are common horror storytelling techniques and applied it to superheroes without it changing the genre, hopefully. So I want to go back to that universe and kind of go back there and do some other things with that. Once we're done with this mini series, that's probably the next thing I'm going to do. I had a plan just to do the whole script all as one story and then release it as quickly as possible. And one after the other, because I don't want people waiting on it, because it's almost like Lord of the Rings or something where you really can't read the any parts of it and the rest of it makes sense. You have to read the whole thing. So I wanted to make sure we're getting out those issues really quickly. So more than 3/4 of the line art is already done for book 2. I'm hoping to just get them out quickly and then do another Super Heresies comic. I have not seen that movie, Daybreakers.
I have seen it, Jack, and it is really good. It's definitely unique. There it goes. So yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I mean, I dig horror books. I haven't really ever been like really big into horror comics until probably about 4 or 5 years ago. But before that, I was always into like horror movies. Like my wife absolutely hates me because I'm like, oh, we've been together 16 years now, going on 17 next year. And it's like one of those things where, we go to pick out movies and we always fight over it. And the one time that I was like, all right, we'll go see the movie that you want to see was the worst decision ever. We went to see, it was Open Water or The Bourne Identity. And I'm like, I want to go see, it was whatever the second one was called, The Bourne Supremacy or whatever. It was the second Bourne movie. And she wanted to see Open Water. And I'm like, man, Jason Bourne is awesome. And she's like, no, I want to go see Open Water. So we went and seen Open Water. It was the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. So like we no longer gave her the decision to choose movies anymore. But she hates it. I love watching horror movies like Insidious. That is one of the creepiest movies I think I've ever seen. Yeah. And so she'll be all like huddled up next to me, and she's like, you can tell there's tension in the air, and you got to wait for that perfect moment. You're like, ah! And you scare the crap out of them. Yeah.
No, my wife and I the same way. She hates horror movies, so I don't get to see that many. But I'm going to catch up. I recently saw Oculus, and I feel like I'm like, well, this movie's pretty good. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? The movie's like a decade ago.
Yeah, it's like, well, I just watched it for the first time. That's like we watched Frailty, and I absolutely love that movie. That was like one of the best horror movies that I've ever seen. And it's not the best, but it's one of the best. It's one of my top 10. I love that movie.
Yeah.
My wife will never watch that movie with me ever again. And so I have it on Blu-ray, and it's never even been opened. So I totally feel you.
Yeah.
And it's really funny, you know, that you're so much into horror and you write these horror stories, but your wife isn't into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
opposites attract, I guess. What can you say, right?
Yeah. And then of course, you know, my kids always dominate whatever we're watching anyway. So,
Oh yeah.
you know,
So you watch a lot of PJ Masks and
yeah, PJ Masks, Vampirina is one of their favorite things. You know,
I feel for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have kids and it's like your PS4 time and your movie time just go right out the window. Yeah. It's like now I'm gonna spend the next, 2 hours watching like you said, Vampirina. My daughter loves Doc McStuffins. And now my son has been into the show on YouTube, Ryan's World, and I absolutely hate it. So just so I can put that out there.
Yeah, there's a handful of those children's shows that are really just terrible. Like Thomas the Tank Engine, can't stand that show. And then Puppy Pals. My kids love Puppy Pals. I'm not a huge fan of Puppy Pals either, but I don't hate it as much as Thomas the Tank Engine. Or like, what was that other one where they're with the pups and they're at Adventure Bay rescuing everybody?
Paw Patrol.
Yeah, no, that show's terrible. I can't stand the one. But I saw it whenever they watch stuff. No, I try to get my kids towards SpongeBob, like because I love SpongeBob. I can watch that all day long, or Adventure Time. Those are two shows that I really like. That I can watch and sort of get something out of, and my kids really like too. But a lot of times it's pulling teeth because they want to watch the same shows over and over and over. But yeah, so I'm kind of behind the horror movies. But whenever I do get video game time, I like to play horror video games too. So I feel like it's almost better than watching a movie.
Oh yeah, and the jump scares are the best too because they do such a great job in the video games. Where you're just like walking along and then they bring out this creepy music and so you're like, oh, something's gonna happen, and so you're like walking along some more and nothing happens, and so you let your guard down, and then it's like that exact moment they knew you're gonna let your guard down, like some freaking hose in the ceiling blows and starts swinging all over the place, and you're like, oh my god, and it's like, oh, false alarm, it was just an air hose that blew.
Yeah, and I'm not even good at games. Like I'm terrible at video games. Like I played Evil Within, the first one, and I literally died 300 times. Exactly 300 times, and it tells me at the end you died exactly this amount of time.
You suck this bad at this game. This is how many times you died. That's a great achievement.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling me that at the end.
No, I actually think you do get an achievement if you die. Like I got an achievement for one of those milestones. I think it was 100 or 200 times you die. Like you actually get an achievement for that. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like I'm really terrible at this game,
But and like you were saying, not all of the shows are bad, but when we were kids, we had all the cool stuff like Voltron and Transformers, and then as I got older, we had Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and we had the Flintstones, and Tailspin. And then later on, Darkwing Duck and stuff like that. And it's like Batman Beyond was another awesome freaking animated show.
Batman one was pretty good, yeah.
And Gargoyles. Gargoyles was freaking awesome too. Yeah. And it's like there are no shows like that anymore. Like, if shows are still like that, I swear that's all I'd be watching still. I'd be like, oh yeah, you want to watch Gargoyles? Heck yeah, let's sit down and watch it. But they just don't make them like that anymore. And what kills me is the common modern day kids like to sit for 3 and 4 hours and watch freaking unboxing videos and kids play with toys. I'm like, I come home from work and my son's in there watching Ryan's World and they're opening toys out of the box and playing with it. That's why I hate that show so much. Like, it doesn't matter how big or how popular the show is. Like, dude, you have your own toys. Go play with them. What is wrong with this day and age? Sorry, I just had to throw that.
Yeah. No, it's really funny because my kids are all into that stuff. And unboxing videos and all that stuff. And it's funny because they forget the toys. They forget about the toys that they have. and they find something they haven't seen in like a year, and it's like it's a new toy for them, and they're like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen." They're like, "We had that at the old house, you know. We
Yeah, we
had
bought
that."
that for you for Christmas back in 2018.
Yeah, yeah, and it'll be like we had that like 5 states ago, you know. Like it's just stuff that that is just really ironic. And I ask my kids what they want to be when they grow up, and they say YouTubers, you know.
You
So I'm
know,
like,
that's what all the kids these days say.
like I think you guys need a backup plan. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's well, and you know, it's funny that you say that because like the modern day creator, like us, you know, say like you want to do a comic book. I always wanted to be a writer. There's people out there that always want to be artists. We were always told that's not a job, that's a hobby. And it's like now YouTubers is that
Yeah,
that hobby. It's like, yeah, and you
yeah,
know, watch in like 10, 15, 20 years, like YouTubers are going to be like multi-millionaires and we're just going to be like, man, why didn't we do this?
yeah. Well, you know, some of those YouTubers are multimillionaires, you know, but it's just like selling crack, you know, or like playing the stock market. There's going to be a handful of people that are going to be millionaires, but most people are going to be extremely broke.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, you know, doing this, you know, I don't do this to make money. I don't you do this, you know, to bring in an income. I do this just because I love talking about people's projects. I love seeing the inspiration that it brings. I love being able for other people that are watching, and thank you so much for the people who are watching or who are watching this later on. I like to connect, you know, Jack in here, you know, and Trish and Mike and you know Ed Williams, all the people that come in here. I know on a regular basis. We chat. We don't talk all the time, but you know we'll message throughout the week and stuff. And that's what it's about. It's about having relationships and forming bonds with people. And you know, you never know what kind of day somebody's having. They get home and they're having a bad day and they're like, screw it, I'm not doing my project. And then they get on here and they watch this and they're listening to Joseph talk about, hey man, you know, when I was a kid, I was in the hospital and I was reading comic books because I had asthma and I always wanted to do that. And my wife started me a company and I'm doing it now, you know, and that's, you know, that's the type of inspiration. We need good stuff out there. We need people to see positivity that there is good things going on because we know the media won't, we know Facebook won't. You know, you try to share out these videos and they're like, we won't even go into this. Yeah, we will. So this is funny. You got to hear this. So I'm an admin for like 8 pages, and I'm a moderator for like the other, you know, a handful of pages. Facebook told me I couldn't share it to my own pages that I admin because it was marked as spam. I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. Like, I run this page. So it's like, you know, it's like you see this bull crap posted everywhere about, you know, we won't talk about politics, but, you know, the election, the negativity's been everywhere. And I'm like, dude, just forget about that. There's nothing we can do to change it. If you voted, you put your word out there. Come relax. Let's talk about Tom Hutchison's book, you know? And so that's what it's all about. Wait, what Russell doesn't do this for a profit, I'm out. Get out of here, Jack. So, you know, and no, it's, you know,
I
it's
feel
not
like
about
that's
making
an assumed name.
What's that?
I feel like that's an assumed name.
Yeah, it's not his real name. It's all good. Hey, you know what? You know, to each their own. If people don't trust, you know, putting their information on the internet, I totally understand
Yeah,
that because,
yeah, I got it too. Yeah,
but you know,
it's pretty funny. David Jackson did 2 of our covers for this comic, and he started doing live streams of himself drawing, and he uploaded 20 of them all at once to Facebook. And I saw one about every 6 hours for 2 days. Like, and it was just the weirdest thing ever. You know, like it put them all in there at the same time. But I saw one 2 days later, and I saw one 6 hours later, and I saw one 15 minutes later. You know, it's just ridiculous. I don't know what they're doing. But
oh yeah, well, and you know, and that's what it is, man. It's like I said, you know, we're out here casting positivity. We're trying to put positive things into the world. Yeah, you know, we're trying to do positive things, and it's like the man's always trying to shut us down, and you know that's why we got it. You know, whatever. We just keep doing it. If we have 10 viewers, if we have 1,000 viewers, you know, somebody's interested in it. But you know, it's great to make these interactions, and I love the live shows because it's awesome. Like if you were at a con and you know you had 100 people in line, and I walked up and I'm like, "Hey Joe, tell me a little bit about yourself." I hope you don't mind me calling you Joe, for short.
yeah,
All right. So, you know, I walk up and I'm like, hey, Joseph, you know, I want to ask you about all your backstory. Usually it's like, oh, well, you know, here, let me sign your book. Here's this. Cool. Thanks. Have a great day. And not all artists are like that, but, you know, it's understandable that you have to be like that. But it's nice about the live shows is because we can get on here. We can talk about the book. If anybody has questions about the book or, you know, wants to know anything, they can ask it and we can tell them live. And not only that, but like I said, you know, we get a chance to know who Joseph is. Not, oh, hey, Joseph's got this Kickstarter book and it's about Dracula. Go buy it. You know, it's fun getting to hear about, you know, what inspired you and, you know, how you got into the industry. I really like that. So I'm going to go back to the Kickstarter here since we get off on tangents.
Yeah,
My brain's gone wacko. So here it is, folks. The Crusade of Dracula, #1. World War I, horror meets the Arabian Nights. I mean, what a title.
yeah, and it was very, very difficult to get that to fit in there. I'm literally 2 characters from the character limit, so now I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the second one, and I'm like, I got to put number 1 and 2 in there somehow, you know. But I'll figure it out, I guess.
Well, and that's the bad thing about Kickstarter, even for like the description underneath of it. You know, when I was doing mine today, so I'm finalizing mine and getting mine ready. I got approved. I got to go through and edit some stuff and do some changes and make it look all pretty. Like, but it's like I only get 135 characters in here. I got like 400 I want to put.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It forces you to be creative. That's for sure.
It does force you to be creative, and you're already funded, so that's definitely awesome. And we had talked about this a little bit ago. You said you said there's 5 titles that are available for the regular backers and 11 for the early birds.
So it's 6 for the regular backers and 11 for the early backers who backed in the first 36 hours or so. Yeah.
And then if you get to 111, which you're only,
Yeah, I'm hoping we'll get there.
yeah, you're not very far away at all. So, you know, you guys definitely, that's something to think of too. You guys are getting 6 more books, the digital books, as well as if he hits 111, you're going to get, it's Katrina hates dead shit.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh every time I say it. And Wordsmith.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. He actually changed the title to Katrina Hates the Dead because so many people complained about that title.
They complained about it? What?
Because I guess they wanted younger people to read it. I don't know, but it's funny because the copy that I have, which is just the #1, it actually says Katrina Hates Dead Shit on it, and then when the whole trade was out, it was Katrina Hates the Dead. So.
Well, and that's just kind of like Scotty Young and his "I hate fairy tales," and it's actually "fuck fairy tale land" or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, although I got to say, I don't think I have really any foul language in this comic. I think I have like a hell and a damn maybe, which I don't even consider count. I think at one point somebody called somebody else a Tory, so that's probably about it.
So here we go. We got the main characters. I have that Katrina Hates Dead Shit hardcover.
That's cool. Yeah, he does only hardcovers of the collections.
Joe says, I wish this was going longer than 9 more days and I would have joined you on this adventure for this Kickstarter. But unfortunately, money's tied up and can't do too many other things.
That's all right, man. Just remember that URL, www.theorderofdracula.com. When we do the second book, you'll be able to get both of them. It'll be the same URL. So.
And definitely, folks, if you can't afford to back the book, please share it out. The link is in the comments and the description of the video, as well as the Facebook page for the Heresy Comics. And, go give it a like, go give it a share, and share it out there. Because a share is worth just as much as you backing it, because all your friends see it, and somebody out there may be interested in it. And that's what we want to do. We want to help get the word out there, and sharing's free.
Yeah, remember that. Great. Anything you can do. Trying to be able to make this kind of self-sufficient. So
this is your main cover here.
Yeah, that's based on the, of course, the Kitchener, the Lord Kitchener propaganda poster from World War I.
And then you got your variant cover here.
Yep, there's the variant cover, which David Jackson also did that one. Then we have a Greg Warrenchak cover. This is going to be on the deluxe edition. This is also based on a World War I propaganda poster. It was originally Lady Liberty with the sword. It says, "Take up the sword of justice," you know. And so what we said was "Take up the sword of Dracula," and he's walking on water just like justice, you know. And I think the
awesome.
favorite thing about this cover is that everybody's drowning and he doesn't really care about the saving them at all.
Yeah, you can see all the hands back here in the background.
He really just wants to use their deaths for political purposes. He doesn't really want to save them. So
yeah, he's like the Rose of Titanic.
Yeah.
Let me have the board, Jack. It's just kind of funny. It looks like the Titanic there in the background.
Yeah, it's a Lusitania.
Okay.
So it was another ship that was supposed to be very safe. But yeah, there was an explosion. It was the impetus for U.S. involvement during World War I. But ironically, it was actually off the coast of Ireland that it blew up, and there were some Irish citizens on it as well. And this was what the UK government was trying to use when it first happened as an impetus to get the Irish to get on board with the war, because the Irish really didn't want to be on board with the war. They didn't even want to be part of the UK for the most part. Hey, Louise. You know, with our story involving the Irish War for Irish Independence, or the run-up to it, I thought it was pretty appropriate we use the Lusitania, both here and in the comic as well.
And that's awesome. You know, that's the best part, you know, about you using factual things. I've never even heard of that shit before. I'm not going to be like, oh, I know exactly what you're about. I have no freaking clue. You know, and I'm not a huge history buff. I do know some stuff about history, and I'm interested in it. But, you know, that alone, just a story about that ship, you know, is super awesome. The Take of the Sword of Dracula was the cover that I thought was the best, and I really want it.
Yeah, I thought about just doing 3 different variants just for the standard edition, but I decided to put this on the deluxe edition because we're just using the same cover deluxe edition, and I kind of wanted to make it a little different and give some people, you know, something a little special. This deluxe edition is the biggest one we've done, so it includes a script, which is the longest script I've done too. It's 79 pages. This first script. We have a whole section of references at the beginning, which is part of it. And the commentary pages on the story.
And then here's some of the inside pages of there.
Yeah, and on page 2 here, we see that Dracula's been working behind the scenes for decades to take down the Empire. But he comes off as a little more vulnerable here in this one than in Order of Dracula. He's realizing he has limitations and he has to enlist other people to help him, and he's not happy about it.
Yeah, nobody likes sharing their food, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there it is. There's the infamous scene right there.
The cat right there. And all those little mangy alley cats there.
Yeah.
I love the way that Greg drew those. And then we're back to 1918. They make the deal. She has to hear true stories in order to keep surviving. She's almost like a story vampire. So he's going to tell her the real story of his life in exchange for her telling him information that he wants.
Very cool.
Okay, so this is our second artist here. We had Greg Warrenchak do the 20th century scene. We have Raoul Orchid doing the 15th century scene. I wanted to work with both these people, worked with both of them before, and I knew they were just really reliable and really professional, and I really liked their art too. And but they had slightly different styles, and Raoul is just a little more detailed, and he's done a ton of historical comics. He really gets into architecture a lot, which I think is really cool. I had him do Dr. Orange, the comic for us, and I basically told him, like, it takes place in a single family house that's worth like X amount of money. and I didn't, and it was in Olive Branch, Mississippi. And I told him nothing else about it. And I said, just design however you want to. And he just got way into it. So it's the entire comic takes place inside the house. So I was like, and he's done a lot of historical comics. He did a comic about the Philippine War, which was a Spanish language comic. He is in Spain, so he's done a lot of Spanish language comics. Yes. So Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Tepish, were both nicknames. Same. It means the same thing. But he didn't really like being called Vlad the Impaler. He hated being called Vlad the Impaler. And it's not totally clear that was a really common nickname for him while he was still alive. Most of the sources we have that call him Vlad the Impaler were actually after he died. But what was really interesting was, even though this guy was very imperious, was very big into being a prince, and was very big into being superior to everybody else. As soon as he became inducted into the Order of the Dragon, he only wanted to be called Dracula. He didn't want any of his titles on his correspondence. The only title / nickname he wanted was Dracula. So I think that was really him trying to say, I'm taking my dad's place in all things. So, but here we see the first 15th century scene. This is Vlad when he was 12 years old. He's training with his brothers, and his father, Vlad II, comes in, tells him they're going to go to Gallipoli to meet the Ottomans. And when they get there, they are ambushed by the Ottomans, and both boys and the father are taken captive. And so this is the beginning of Dracula's bad relationship with the Ottoman Empire, when he's kidnapped at 12 years old.
So it begins.
Yeah.
Oh, there's this guy right here.
Damn. That was a con back when there were cons.
Those were the days.
Like in the before times. That's Greg. He's one of our line artists.
And the line work in here is phenomenal. Like, especially like you said too, on the 15th century scenes, the intricacy of the castle and stuff is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I wanted it to be, the 20th century scenes. There's the picture that he gave me. That Raul gave me. But the 20th century scenes, I wanted to kind of be more dynamic and so less detail were in those scenes, and then the 15th century scenes, you really wanted it to be more etching like. So it was a little more detailed style.
And then there's this guy.
Yeah.
God, I'm so tired of seeing this guy. Everywhere I turn around, this guy. I mean, he's on Facebook nonstop. He's been on Rush Explode Studios twice in the past month. And then, then I get on Facebook and I see him some more talking about some book with demons called Belial or something like that. Yeah. And then he's got this book with Eric Cockrell that he's going to be on Tuesday with Chuck again. Yeah, I'm telling you stuff. Chuck again. Dude, this guy is everywhere. He's like the freaking Illuminati or something. He's got something to do with everything. And he should have gave you the meme I made with this picture. I mean, this just doesn't do Chuck justice. I mean, I love the Hemingway pose, but the meme that I made with this is just absolutely fantabulous. I'm gonna have to post it up again. Yes, Chuck is everywhere. But Chuck Pinow edited this book. That's why his picture is in here.
Yeah, we give him shit about that shirt. He wears that way too much.
Hey, you know what? Nothing could be worse. I hope that everybody else has been tortured with seeing whatever the freaking, I don't even know what it was, the potato outfit with the freaking red tassels on.
Oh, yeah. I can't unsee that one.
I can't unsee that either. And I was like, I did a double take. I scrolled past and I was like, wait, what the fuck was that? And I scrolled back and I'm like, it was so hideous. I couldn't take my eyes off because I'm trying to figure out what it is he's wearing.
Yeah, the worst part was I saw that when he originally posted it, and I'd forgotten about it. And years later, he's like showing back up on my feed.
It's true. It's each more annoying than the next. Fuck that joke, dude. That's my pirate shirt.
Yeah, we always say he looks like one of Catwoman's henchmen from the old Batman TV show.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's great. And what are the rewards? So you got the regular one for the standard PDF.
Yep. So then we have you can get both Dracula books, deluxe PDF, and then I use the British military ranks for the names of the rewards. Then we have a print book, and the theme song comes with everything too.
So you even have a theme song for this.
Yeah, there's a guy that I work with who composes stuff by ear. He just was he just was like he just goes home and composes stuff like he has no life whatsoever, you know. So I was like, just compose me something for this comic. So let's do that.
That's awesome, man. I need a theme song for my book, man. I'm telling you. I've seriously thought hard on it. There's two bands that I absolutely love that I think would do a phenomenal song, just with, no lyrics, no nothing, just, all instrumental. And I just was like, I just want to like email these people and be like, is there any way that you guys could like make something for me? I will put a link in the Kickstarter and they can go to your page and buy it from you and you can have all the money from it. I just want some awesome theme. And one of them is Star Set and the other one is Gunship. I absolutely love Gunship. Like I randomly found them on Facebook. It was just one of those things. I never click on ads ever. And I was like scrolling through and then they had this video for Dark New Day. And I checked it. I was like, oh, I'm going to stop and I'm going to click on this. This looks pretty cool. And I was like, oh my God, this song is awesome. And then I listened to the other ones. I'm like, all right, screw it. I'm buying it. So now I've had the pleasure of turning Alfred Trujillo onto it. So now he's hooked on it. Like every couple of days he's posting. He's like, dude, check out this new music video from Gunship. I'm like, yeah, I know. I want to get a hold of these guys and be like, do like a 30-second instrumental for this, for my book. I would love it so much. But, I'm too chicken to do that. And plus, they got labels too, because they'd be like, oh, my label won't let me do that. So,
Yeah, we just moved from Nashville end of last year. And it's one of those places where like Friday night, you go out to eat, there's somebody playing music there. And it's somebody who never really made it big. But a lot of those bands are just really fantastic. So I think it's probably really doable if you want to find a band that will do it for you.
Oh, get out of here.
I actually thought about just going cheap on this one and using Toccata and Fugue in D minor, because that actually is a song that plays a role in the book. I decided not to be that cheap though, because that's a public domain song.
So is your theme song all instrumentals, or does it have vocals?
It's all instrumental. Yeah,
it's all instrumental.
There's no lyrics or anything. Yeah.
Hey man, my dial-up is strong.
I remember dial-up. It was terrible.
Oh, I do too, man. Russ Apnell on all Jitterbug phones. So yeah, I mean, it'd have to be available on Jitterbug phones. You're on your stuff. I mean, come on. All right, yeah. Hey, you know what? You make jokes, Lewis, about the camo Chevy cap. It's on a cover now. I am on a cover wearing my camo Chevy hat. So.
What cover is it?
It's Naughty Fairy Stripper Assassin #4.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like going to be like Field and Stream or something like that.
That's what Steph would say. Steph's always talking about how I'm on the lake. He's like, can you hear the water in the background? Russ is on the lake fishing again. I'm like, get out of here, Steph.
Yeah, what's is that magazine still exists? I don't know.
I don't know. To be honest, so many of the magazines that I didn't think still existed anymore still exist. Like, it's not PlayStation Magazine. It's one of the other ones, the Gamer Pro or whatever.
Yeah, Gamer Pro.
One of them is still around. I was like, I seen an ad for it the other day. I was like, what? There's people that still buy this stuff. That's like what the internet's for. Like, who buys a game guide anymore? Like, that's what's so funny. You go into the Best Buy and you got all these like $50, $60 games. And then down below it, there's like a $30 Prima guide about this is how you beat that level. It's like, dude, that's what YouTube's for. I'll watch somebody else beat it and be like, that's how you get past this one. And then go do it myself. I'm like, does anybody even really buy these books anymore?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I never get stuff like that. I'm always like,
Bassmasters, yeah.
Bassmasters, yeah. I was like, I'm like, you know what? I don't think I need a game guide. Like, I'm just gonna keep dying until I finish this game.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, then I'm just not gonna play the game anymore. So, so then we have various levels you can get. 2 covers there. There's a PDF of all our comics, and then we have both Dracula books in print. Let's see, what's the next one? That's the deluxe comic, and oh yeah, the next one is all of our deluxe comics in PDF, and then the next one is the draw-in. So you can get drawn in as part of Dracula's army in the 15th century, and then the other one is a print collection.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I mean, you got everything all the way up.
Yep.
And then you got the add-on. So you got the director's cut print comic as an add-on.
Yep. And then the other one is the custom sketch card. So this is the first time I've done a custom sketch card. I don't think anybody's taken it yet. I got to double check on that. But Greg said it was like he will draw whatever you want on a sketch card. The price includes worldwide shipping. It ships from Canada. So
there you go, Steph. $52. You can get just tell them you want a boob. You want a boob drawn on there. And then you get your circle template sketch. $52.
Yep.
Go back to comic, add on your add-on there.
Yeah, and no shipping.
Now I do have a question. So I like to bring this up now that add-ons are a thing on Kickstarter. Is it an actual add-on, or do you have to up your pledge for add-ons on here?
They're actual add-ons.
They're actual add-ons. So you do have the add-on capability.
Literally just before we launched the campaign, they started add-ons. So I added a couple things on there. It's not totally the greatest system because it has shipping separately from the reward tiers. So what I did was I just used add-ons for stuff that's shipped separately anyway. We ship all of our director's cut print comics separately because they come directly from the printer to the backer.
Okay.
Sketch cards shipped separately because they're shipping from Greg and not from me.
So that's awesome. So the director's cuts actually print on demand. You order it, they print it and ship it straight to you.
Yeah. It's from Kablam in Orlando.
Cool.
Our main standard books are printed at page by page copies and finishing in Ohio. So that stuff gets shipped to me, and then I ship it to you. If you get the director's cut, then it goes directly to you from the printer.
Get out of here, Steph. Asking real interview questions. I know. I usually don't ask them. See that's why that's why this show. I don't do questions. I don't write out questions. I go where the audience takes it to. And if they seriously have, you better buy it for me for Christmas, Lewis. I'll rock it. You guys wait till you see the stretch goals that I have on my Kickstarter. There may be a live tattooing.
We don't have any Piggly Wigglies here. We had them in Tennessee, and I worked in Alabama. We had them there too. It's a shame.
Yeah, and we don't have any around here either. So then, like we said earlier, guys, we're so close to the 111 backers for this. Try to help them get there. You get 6 digital comics right now. But if we get to 111 backers, you get another 2, which I will scroll all the way back up here to the top.
It's actually right below that chart too.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I put it in 2 places because I figured this would be a problem. So.
Well, whatever. It happens. So Katrina hates dead shit, or whatever you said the new title is.
Yeah.
And Wordsmith. Yeah, that still cracks me up that they had to change the name on that. Dude, the chat's gone downhill. Steph Wilson shows up. He brings the circle template with him. And then you got Chuck hiding in the background behind the scenes. I wonder if that's in here. I got to look and see if his. I think the one thing is still in here from when I had him on. I did have the. Where is it? So this was just absolutely funny, you know. So I met Chuck. I like giving him trouble. I met Chuck like 6 or 7 months ago, you know, because of COVID. That, you know, that I hate bringing it up because it's such a terrible thing, but there's so much good that has come from it because I've met phenomenal people, you know, through it. You know, Lewis and Chuck, and I get on one of Chuck's live shows, and I'm like, this guy's just dropping F-bombs like crazy, and I'm cracking it up. So I just start counting them, and I'm just like, all right, we're up to 8 now, and so I became his official F-bomb counter when I come into his videos, and he made a big joke about it. And so he's a really awesome dude. And, you know, I love seeing, you know, the projects that he's been an editor on, you know, like the horror books like this. But so I love giving him a hard time. And I seen this at work. This is actually on the wall at a place of employment. And you got to look at F right there. F is bomb threats. And I'm like, you know, where was somebody when they did this? I mean, you got D media, E demonstrational disturbances, and somebody's just like, let's put F bomb threats. So I immediately thought of Chuck when I seen that. I was like, that is the funniest freaking thing I have ever seen in my life. Because it's one of those things, you know, you read through an ad or you look at something that somebody puts out online, and you're like, obviously nobody looked at that.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to have them right next to the phones at work. You know, they say, so like, if it's a bomb threat, I'm like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure that like most of these cards have been stolen. So, you know what? I don't know. It might be so that Chuck doesn't kiss the books. That might be a stretch goal. But it's like maybe it's like Chuck doesn't wear that big fat suit. You know, maybe that would be a good stretch goal. Or maybe me not signing the books. I've ruined so many books by signing them. I actually had a guy's like, "Can you sign the book?" I'm like, "I can sign the book, you know, but I have ruined more books than I've made better by signing them." So,
why do you say that?
Because I like to use these like paint pens to do it.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes it just like doesn't work right. So I have like a handful of books where I've just like totally ruined it by trying to sign it.
Yeah, that sucks. So you got book 1. It's on Kickstarter right now. You've got 2 more books planned for the series. We've talked about what you've done before. We've talked about what you're doing now. What is your outlook after the Crusade of Dracula? What kind of books are you planning on, or have you looked that far ahead?
You mean like all the books outside of the miniseries, or just the miniseries?
Yeah, like once you finish the miniseries.
So we're gonna do the miniseries over the next year. Finish the 3 books. Then we'll have the Legacy of Dracula, which takes place during the War for Irish Independence. Then we have the Blade of Dracula, which is about how Dracula retrieved his father's sword. Takes place during the Mexican War for Independence. Yeah, no, I've done that too. You can ruin a book by sweating on it. It's really disgusting. You know, when I was back in the old days, when you had to take film out of a camera, that was another great way to ruin film, was just by sweating on it.
Oh yeah.
And of course, you're always doing it in the dark too. But are there any dark rooms left? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, and then we'll do another one. I think it's called The Dragons of Dracula. It's about something he did when he was alive. So that's probably going to be about it.
So what are your plans after you finish Dracula's story? You got anything cool? I know you said you wanted to revisit the
we'll
superhero book.
Heresy stuff. The first thing we'll do is Super Heresy Showcase, which is solo stories, and then we'll have we have a black and white horror collection called Two Eyed Tales. So I'm going to come out with a new one of those. And probably do it in like a magazine format and call it Two Eyed Tales Magazine. Just a bunch of like black and white horror comics, kind of like the early 70s Skywald and Creepy and Eerie and all those kind of black and white magazine sized comics. And then after that, probably go go back to doing some more super heresy stuff and kind of intersperse it with Dracula. Don't really have more than like 2 years ahead planned out, but we'll see.
That sounds awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. And this book looks really good from what I've seen so far. I'm definitely going to try to finish it up tomorrow while I'm sitting at the hospital. So I definitely like it. And while you were talking about the future books, I was pulling this up because I'm just going to share this with everybody, you know, that in case you missed it, maybe. Are we going to? And I love the comment. If nobody's seen the comment on it that Sean put on there, you're wearing your mask in the wrong spot, Chuck.
Yeah, so you back the comic, and we will never put that on the page.
Yeah, so if you back the comic, you know, we get him to 111 backers. He's not gonna make you see this. We're not gonna paste it all over the place. It's gonna disappear forever.
Let's just replace that black and white photo with that one. You know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that'd be so funny. Can you imagine somebody scrolling through the Kickstarter and all of a sudden there's this picture of Chuck wearing that suit and like these all the questions that they have in their mind, and like there's really no way to message the creator besides asking on the Kickstarter, and like who's really gonna want to be the guy that asks the question like, dude, what the fuck is that picture that you put in the Kickstarter? Like what?
Yeah, when I did you know what they should do is just like do it temporarily over like 12 hours at night, and like all the Australians would be like, what is this shit, you know, like and then take it off and just see if anybody notices. But I actually did a Two Eye Tales Kickstarter, and one of the artists we had for that is Milana Ferris, and I said, you know, give me a photo I can use of you, and he like has some photo where he's like standing in the middle of the street with like a pot on his head, and I'm like, what is this, like, you know? And then I did some interview on it, and they were like, so one of your artists is a pothead, you know. It's like, I guess that's accurate. Yeah.
That's great. Is that sumo with tassels?
I don't even know how to answer that, honestly.
Okay, good. Can you hear me again?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. When I was laughing about that, I accidentally smacked the mic and ripped the cord out of my phone. So I was like, "Oh no, I've broken it." So all right, we're good. Yeah, that's great. And he said, Jack said, man, I would have guessed as soon as he was done with the Dracula story, he was going to take Dracula to the hood. And then when he was done with that, take Dracula to space. Now, I have to laugh about that because I don't even remember what the movie was called that I seen that was on Netflix. It may have been Dracula in space. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was legitimately these people were on a spaceship and there's these coffins and they find this abandoned ship and they're like space pirates and they're breaking into the ship and they're gonna steal the loot that's on there, and it ends up being vampires, and it was definitely a B movie, and I watched all of it. I'm not gonna lie, I actually sat there and watched it, but you know it wasn't half bad, but I don't even remember the name of it, so it definitely didn't leave a mark.
Well, they had a Leprechaun. They actually had 2 Leprechaun movies where he was in the hood. And then they had Jason Voorhees in space. That made no sense whatsoever. It does kind of remind me of a Planet Upside Down kick, honestly, but like not in a good way at all.
Dracula 3000, that's it. Thanks, Mike. Yep, he hit it right on the head. It was Dracula 3000.
Oh,
yeah, it was super corny. And so like he ends up seducing one of the chicks and tries to get her to turn it was just like super ate up. And like apparently the captain of the ship that took them there to basically pirate the ship was a descendant of Van Helsing. Like somehow they brought in Van Helsing into this, and he was a Helsing, and so now magically all of a sudden, because he ran into vampires, he's learned how to kill vampires as well. Because now he's a master vampire slayer.
Yeah. Space vampire slayer.
Yeah, space vampire slayer. Yeah, there was Jason in space.
Yeah, wasn't it Jason X or something like that? Yeah.
Jason went to space, as did Hellraiser. Yeah. And here's the thing, man. Like, that's one of the things that gets me in the Jason X is like, listen, people. I don't care what the audience thinks about it. I just can't, it is Rush Explode Studios, and I love blowing stuff up. And that's my forte. So it's a huge pet peeve of mine. If there's a freaking explosion in space, there's no air. It makes no sound. Stop putting huge explosions. Okay, so for example, there's one movie, and I will tell you that I noticed it because I rewound it and watched it again. Star Trek, the reboot, when they did the reboot of The Life of Kirk from when he was a kid. The first one, it was just Star Trek. Phenomenal movie. When the ship explodes and they're firing the torpedoes at it, and like you see all the stuff going on, and it switches the torpedo, it goes dead silent. And then you got this torpedo, and it hits the ship, and it blows up. There's no explosion. Like I almost fainted. I was like, holy crap, somebody got it right. And like I'm probably the only person in the world that got super excited about that.
No, I do too.
But I'm like, come on, people. If we're going to do something in space and you're going to have a huge explosion, it makes no sound. Like, look, have the ship crash onto a planet and then, like, show the view from the planet and then it explodes because then there'll be sound. And it'll be awesome.
Yeah, well, luckily, Space Force is right down the road in Colorado Springs. So and if I need any technical advice, I can ask both personnel there if I need any technical advice.
Tesla X.
Yeah,
what's going on, Danny?
Yeah, he needs to be in a car in space because that makes sense. Like,
how do you know there's no sound? Because is it because no one else out there to see it? Well, it's just because whenever you do an experiment in a lab with explosions, oh man, Danny, you really got to get me technical on this. Come on. Yeah. So, like in a lab, if you suck all the air out of the room, the explosion's contained because there's no air. So when it explodes, it vibrates the air. That's what usually kills you in an explosion if you're too close. Like a frag grenade can still liquefy your organs if like you're underwater and it goes off just because of the vibrations of the air blast is what they call it. Well, when there's no air and there's that explosion, it's just like a poof in the air, and there's no ripple in the air because there's no oxygen atoms for it to vibrate. So yes, it is proven that in a vacuum, explosion doesn't make a sound because there's no airwaves to vibrate.
Yeah, sound has to have a medium to travel through, whether it's water or air.
Exactly. So if you're inside the ship, it makes a sound. I guess since there's air in there, I don't know. Now we're getting technical. Yeah. Now we're gonna have to build spaceships. That's it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna take all the awesome money we make from all these cool Kickstarters. We're gonna all pull it together for 2020 and build spaceships and just go battle each other in space and just not care.
Yeah, what I think is really funny about spaceship battles, especially in Star Trek, is that if you were really doing a spaceship battle, like that's a 3-dimensional space, like. And it's always like, here's the good fleet, here's the enemy fleet. Like, why are it's like this? Like, why aren't they like this or this? Like, why do they do that? Are they like, is there like some sort of like 19th century like laws of battle they have to follow? I don't know.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is with the 19th century laws of battle, even the enemies follow them, even though they don't care, and they're like, we do what we want. And then it is great. That is a great thing because like when. And the Klingons are coming in Star Trek, the birds of prey, they're all three in like formation where the Enterprise is just like pew, 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 and all three of them blow up. And it's like, where's the one way off and the alpha male that's way off that's going to trick them and come in from behind.
Yeah. Where's the commander? The commander should never be in the front, Commander's going to be back in the back and they got like a C4I section and, there's all kinds of support people back there.
They do it because it's better for the camera, exactly. But we still got to make fun of it, Yeah, we got to make fun of it. So it's been a great talking to you, Joseph. The project's great. It was fun to have some laughs with you. It was great to get to know you, and what got you into comic books. It's one of my big things that I'm passionate about. Inspiration. Finding something to inspire other people, like through with my story of how I came up from, my project from 10 years ago to where I'm at now. The inspirational stories, someone out there somewhere, whether it's now or on playback later, something they need to hear and to see some positivity. And also, back great projects. So, I really look forward to seeing what else you have to come. For those of you that are watching, definitely check out the Kickstarter. I am going to pop the link back in here real quick. Everybody's still derailed on Command from the Escape Pod. We got off track as this bug Dracula in space. Where's Russell is now Bassmasters host? Yeah, you know. Hey, you know what? We have fun. That's what matters.
Space.
Bassmasters in space, man.
I guess space bass.
Yeah. So would that make a seahorse a space horse?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, starfish.
Yeah. Yeah. A starfish. Yeah.
Better, or is it escape out of breakfast ship? Oh Jesus, you guys! I'm telling you, it's getting crazy up in here. So guys, there's the link. Everyone on Facebook watching, everyone on YouTube watching, everyone on Twitch watching or watching back on this. Thanks so much for being here. Check out Joseph's projects. Like we said earlier, you get 6 free books and a digital PDF. If he gets to that 111 mark, you get 2 more awesome digital PDF books. So you're not just getting one book backing it from the get-go. You get 7 books. You get 1 physical if you buy the physical, and the other 6 digital books. Joseph, I'm going to give you the full screen for a minute, let you tell everybody where to find you, and say your last bit about the book, if you would, please.
Okay. Well, we are live for 9 more days, and the URL is www.theorderofdracula.com. We're already funded. We're hoping to get to 111 backers to get 2 more comics, and then go from there. If you want to find us on Facebook, we have 2 pages: Heresy Studios LLC, and then we also have The Order of Dracula. Twitter, we're at Heresy Studios LL, and Instagram we're at Heresy Studios LLC Comics. We have a website at heresystudiosllc.com. Back to you.
Maybe. My computer's acting up again. I still got it in the background. That's what I've been controlling everything with. So I put that link in there, www.theorderofdracula.com. I hope I got that right. Did. Awesome. Boom. Just like that. Wonderful off-the-road show. Well, thanks so much for being here tonight, Joseph. I had a great time. I had a great time chatting with you. Definitely like your project. Definitely look forward to seeing what more you have come. Folks, check out this project. It's a huge book. Definitely worth the money. It's not just a thin book. It's got a lot of story. 2 years of research this guy did on history just to get it right. Joseph, thanks for coming. Have a great night. If you want to hang out in the green room for a second while I say my goodbyes, I'll be back in a minute.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good night. Well, folks, we had a great show tonight. Thanks a lot for being here. Definitely check out theorderdracula.com and check out the Kickstarter. Back it. Get all those extra free books. Help this man hit his milestone. Hit that 111. Let's show him how we do it in the indie market. Also, guys, got a great show coming up on Tuesday with Mr. Chuck Pinow and Sean Barber. Or not Sean Barber. Sorry, wrong book. Eric Cockrell. Talking about Essence House. Tomorrow, I'm not going to be available if anybody messages me. If anybody tries to contact me and you don't see me on Facebook, I will be out of the office completely tomorrow. My son has a cardiology appointment. We may be looking at possible surgery coming in the future, another intervention. So keep us in your thoughts and prayers if you would, please. I would really appreciate that. Thanks for being here tonight, everyone. And also on the final note, too, I'm finalizing the Kickstarter over the next few days. It's been accepted. So we're going to do the November 17th launch date. So look forward to that. Look forward to more information. Check out the Crusade of Dracula live on Kickstarter now. And keep me in your thoughts tomorrow, everybody. Love you all. Thanks for being on. Have a great night.